What's going on, everybody? Dave back again, and today I have something kind of interesting, kind of cool, and I'm kind of excited to take a look at. Now, there's not a lot of information out there on this kit. The only other person that I know of that's done a review on it so far has been Riptrippers. As some of you know, I've been picking up some vape stuff for beginners going from smoking into vaping, and this kit I actually found really interesting in its design and how it can help people. So today we're going to be taking a first look at the OBS CUBE Mini. So when I ended up seeing the review on this, I did some searching around. I know that there was a OBS Cube and it was bigger, it was variable wattage, and for a lot of people that are getting into vaping, it may be a little overpowering. Plus the RDA that was on there from everybody that I've ended up seeing was too airy, it was too noisy, it was just kind of a hot mess. If you were sticking your own tank and stuff on there, that may be great, but for someone wanting to get into, a lot of people just want to get a starter kit. This one actually just arrived today. I don't know of many places that have them in stock. I will post a link down below to where I ended up getting it, which happened to be the cheapest place that I found here in the States. I believe it was about 38 bucks. Depending on where you end up checking around, they range in pricing from 38, 42, 55. I think I saw $61 on one. Some of the prices are crazy. So like I said, I'm not doing a full review right now. I'm doing a out of the box kind of overview and everything, let you guys see the quality and everything. And then I'm going to give this about a week of trial. Then I will come back and actually do a full review for you guys. But without further ado, let's jump down to the table. I'll show you everything that comes in this box and I'll give you my initial thoughts. Alright, so here we are with the OBS CUBE Mini Kit. So the box is actually pretty nice. You can see for the Cube Minis that are on here, they are glossy, and then they have this kind of different funky texture, almost like a rubberized texture. Not that anybody really cares about on the packaging, but I kind of appreciate good packaging. On the front it says USB cable, 1500 mAh battery, which I think is actually pretty good. And it has protection. Taking a look at this side, you have a scratch and sniff on the side, and this one's going to probably smell like, well, paper that you've scratched something off on. On the other side, you have QR codes for their Instagram and Facebook. On the back, you have some information. For that, we're just going to zoom in a little bit, take a look here. So what ends up coming in the standard kit? One CUBE Mini kit, one S1 mesh coil, one N1 coil. I'm going to assume that's for nichrome, one USB cable, one spare glass tube, extra O-ring, and one user manual. Now this does come in a lot of different colors, and this one is Elf. I thought I ordered Starry, but maybe not because I'm a fan of the blue, but I'm not going to complain. And I couldn't find any actual like blue. They have a bunch of different colors, Punk, Starry, Elf, Aurora, Sunset, Poppy, Blue, Rainbow, Red, Chrome, Gunmetal, and Black. I didn't really see any of the others, pretty much just these right here. So I haven't really messed around with this at all, other than taking the plastic off. So sliding this open, you get a user manual, a silica packet, and this is what you end up getting in here. So you have your CUBE Mini tank, your extra glass, there seems to be the coil that's in there, and then the mod itself. Let's take a look at the manual real quick. Contents, it's in English, French, Greek, German, Italian, Polish, and Spanish. Really simple instructions on here. The diameter, it says for the tank, is 21 millimeters, height 42 millimeters, weight 36 grams, capacity 2 milliliter. And those seem to be instructions, I think, for the UK. Yeah, the instructions doesn't have anything else. So I think these instructions are general for like the UK, because I know they have a 2 milliliter juice capacity on there. But if you'll notice on the pictures, it's just a straight glass. It's not the bubble glass like that's in here. Let's see here, 2 milliliter, material 304 stainless steel, port 510 for the mod itself, size 71 by 26 by 26 millimeters. Weight 88 grams. Wattages 5 to 25 watts. Current 10 amps. Output voltage 3.3 to 4.2. Resistance range, I'm going to assume above a 0.40. So this won't do anything lower. And for the instructions on here, operation instructions, power on, power off. You just click the button 5 times. Vaping, you just hold the fire button. This just only has one button on it. Power indicator, voltage at 3.5 is a white light. Below 3.5 is a red light. Charging voltage, 4 volt, red light. Above 4 volts is going to be a white light. And then a voltage, light on and charge complete. So basically the light is off when it's completed charging. So with that crap out of the way, let's get everything out of the package. Everything that I've ended up hearing or hearing people talk about is that these have resin panels. Well, let's talk about that here in a second. You get the tank, you get the extra glass, you get the extra coil. Underneath the super tight in there foamy, you get a little separator, you get a USB cable, you get a packet with some seals and rings in there. One ring, I'm assuming that's for the tank on the upper side maybe. Kind of concerning that there's only one seal on the tank, but we'll take a look at that here in a second. You get an atomizer attention and product information, quality control, and yeah, there's nothing marked on there as far as the quality control. Yeah, good job guys. So taking you up close, looking at the mod itself, it is really nice. This seems to be almost like a brushed aluminum panel that's on here. It is nice and cool to the touch, so I am going to assume that's probably a aluminum panel that's on there. You got a button on here, it's nice and clicky. You get the charge port and you get your LED right there. So 5 clicks on, 1 2 3 4 5. So it looks like it's charged. And then if you don't have an atomizer on there, it's going to blink 5 times. 1 2 3 4 5. To turn it off, it'll blink quick. And here's the resin-esque panels. And then on the other side, now this thing is going to be a fingerprint magnet, and that's what I ended up hearing about the original one, was it was just a fingerprint magnet. But you get the Cube Mini with what everybody is doing with the mesh that's on there. Now the reason that I say that this is resin, I don't want to say it is resin and I don't want to say it isn't resin, but it has a rubberized texture. You guys know me, you guys know I know my resin and stuff, and I don't think that these are resin. If they are, then they have a coating on there, and I don't want to ruin it by peeling them off. But it has a rubberized texture that's on there. Now the tip that matches, that very well is probably resin. I'm not going to question that, and it does match very well. I do like that. I wish I'd gotten it in the blue though. But yeah, that's the mod itself. Down on the bottom, designed by OBS. Battery capacity 1500 mAh with a venting hole right there on the bottom. As we discussed, you get an extra glass just in case you break one. Now this is the extra coil, and they really didn't want you to get into this. Cheesy crazy, trying to get that out of the wrapper was trying to like get a condom on when you're in a hurry. So on this is just a, looks to be a single coil. This is the 1.2 and I think it's a nichrome coil. But taking a look inside, you can see on there, now they do say that it's organic cotton that's in there. We're going to take them at their word on that. But that's the 1.2 coil. And then here is the tank itself. On the bottom down here, designed by OBS, don't vape in a bin, Cube Mini OBS 904G. I'm not sure what that stands for. Does look to be either a brass or a gold plated 510 pin that's down there. It is protruding. I wouldn't stick this on a mech mod. It's not protruding that much. Taking a look at the bottom airflow ring, you do have one air slot down here, a big Cyclops one. And then if you turn it all the way to the other direction, you have 4 for your mouth to lung, and you can cut that down. And that's why I think that this will be a really good option for people going directly, maybe from a pod kit or from cigarettes to something like this. You get more juice capacity than you do on something like this, but you can play around and just customize that airflow for more or less depending on how you're wanting to do it. If you're wanting to do a sneaky, you can do 1-2 holes. If you're wanting just to get a nice quick hit, you can open that up all the way. Now it is only airflow on one side. You do get a resin tip that's on here, and it is stuck in there really, really well. So everything seems that I've looked at so far seems to be pretty clean. It's got a double O-ring on there. Taking a look inside, I'm not seeing any rust. I'm not seeing anything in there. Now, one thing I do like is that they did a matte finish on here, and you saw a little scuffing on there, but it was just from my nail, because I had to actually dig my nail underneath the edge to pop out that tip. Unscrewing it, here comes the bottom, your glass. Now I know people end up saying that they have issues with their glass, and there goes that. So that's what can end up happening. Now I did end up seeing on here, there is a ball bearing that is in here that is spring loaded, and that's going to lock into these slots. Now this is going to be your juice fill port, and this is made to be able to be removed, though the instructions don't say it, so that you can pop this out if that seal ends up going bad. Though I'm kind of curious why it would end up going bad, because if you look there, there's actually, the plate actually comes up all the way even with that seal. So I don't know why that seal would ever end up going bad, unless it just ends up rotting or ends up getting, you know, caught up and torn. Now that there is good resistance, I'm not sure why that came off so easily with me pulling off that glass. It's not super tight as far as popping it off, but it's not going to fall off or fall open. I don't think that's going to be the case. I do find those. Now the glass did end up coming off, and it didn't end up breaking, though it was kind of tight on there, and that's probably just because it's factory on there. I would rather have a glass tight on there instead of like my crown, where I can just spin the glass on the tank with it locked down and everything. Now the threads and everything do seem to be pretty good. It is nice and clean. I'm not seeing any oil. I'm not seeing any burrs or anything, so that is a good thing. You can see your pin down there in the bottom of your coil right here, and there is a mesh that's inside of there. It's not really your standard. It looks like the older style mesh tanks that have come out, where it's got the wide ribbon across there. So we'll have to see how this ends up doing. And this is the S1 mesh, so I'm going to assume that's stainless steel maybe, and this is the 0.6 ohm. So let's just tighten everything back down on here. Now remember I said that I was kind of concerned about O-rings and stuff. So this bigger black O-ring that's in here is actually for the bottom of the deck. It's kind of differently shaped. It fits into this track where the tank will sit over it. My problem is that I don't see a replacement for this guy. All right, to put it back together, you put in your coil. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wet up this coil before I put everything in, and I am using Naked Really Berry. I really like this stuff. I ended up actually picking this up over the weekend while I was out of town, and yeah, so we're going to end up putting this in here. I vaped already one bottle of this, and I'm already on this one, so I kind of know what the flavor tastes like between drippers and everything else. If I have one suggestion to this company, they make great liquids. I picked up a couple different bottles. Stop with the freaking dripper nozzle, like it's so annoying. Now my suggestion to new people and even old people is just put a drop or two down inside, let it get into the cotton in there before you end up putting it all together. It is going to speed things up, because once you end up putting everything together, it causes a vacuum in there, and it's just going to take a little bit longer for that to get ready. And I always put like a drop right there on the seals, and I will just run my finger across it because it's my finger, and that just kind of lubricates the seal that's on there, and that actually soaked in really fast. So I'm just going to put another drop inside. Worst case scenario, it just sits in there suspended, and you just suck it up. Now to tighten it down, you just line up the coil with that top portion, tighten it down. Let's get our handy dandy paper towel and just wipe everything down. And for those of you wondering, I did run this through an ultrasonic just real quick, just to make sure that there was no oils or anything like that I did not end up seeing. And I always suggest that even if you don't have an ultrasonic cleaner, just run it through warm soapy water just to get everything nice and clean. So we're going to screw this down on the mod. Let's see how it sits on that plate. Seems to sit nice and flush. I wouldn't go any bigger of a tank on here. Even with that glass, you still have about 1 millimeter or so doing this on there before it touches. So even if it's laying on its side, it's not touching the glass directly. So that's good. So we'll just slide that juice fill port open. Now with the bubble glass tanks, I believe that these hold 3 mils. I still find it really curious though that the instruction manual only had in there for the 2 mil. Maybe they figured they were just playing it safe for the European market, since they're a 2 mil only. For those wondering on this juice, it's a blueberry, blackberry, and then a citrus. I think it's orange. So we're going to close that down. Let's stick our tip back in, pop that down all the way. We're going to let this sit for a couple minutes and then come back out, and I'll take a couple toots on it, and then we will close out this video. And like I said, I will actually give this about a week of use. That way I can let you know what kind of battery life I'm getting out of it, what kind of use, how the coils are, and then we will close out the series. Alright boys and girls, so here we are. We've let it sit for a little bit. We are taking a look at the Cube Mini, and this is in the elf coloring, so it's kind of a greenish color. This is a fingerprint magnet on the shiny side over here. I don't notice it so much on this side with the brushed aluminum. You know, I can't be mad that these aren't full resin panels and that they have that rubberized texture, because it actually feels good and I don't feel like I'm going to drop it. It is super small. If you look at it, like, and I do have big hands, but if you look at like my finger, 2 of my fingers are wider than this mod is. It's easily palmable. Now right now I have the mesh coil in here. There's no variable wattage and it's fully charged on here, and I have the Cyclops completely open. So let's go ahead and give this a toot. And I know that the flavors already are kind of probably going to be muted, because that's just the way mesh ends up working. You kind of have to give mesh like a good tank, a couple milliliters, for it to break in with the cotton. It's just the way that mesh is. But I can tell you right now, even with that, the flavor is really good on it. And with this being small and everything, production, if you're looking for clouds, is very good on here. I am reviewing this more for someone wanting to stop smoking. But yeah, now right now I have 6 milligram in here because that's my preferred until I get back down to a 3 again. But yeah. Even with that, it started to get a little warm on the top up here where my lip was, but that was kind of a long one. It does hit pretty good. Like, you do get that throat hit even with me on the 6. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch it over to, if it'll focus on that, I'm going to switch it over to the mouth to lung. Now they do advertise that you can use salt nicks in here, and you probably can with the 1.2 coil that's in here. But with this mesh in here, I wouldn't, with it being a 0.6, unless it's really low. Like if it's a 20, 15, 20, if you can find that in a salt nick, then maybe. But anything higher than that, I wouldn't do it. That was with 4 slots. And it does get warm. It gets really warm for only being 25 watt. Let me kick that down to a 3 slot. That tip gets hot. I don't know what it is. Two slot. Personal opinion, for a mouth to lung, at least on the mesh coil, I think it gets too hot up here too fast for a mouth to lung. That was just a normal drag on it with 1 hole, which is 1 hole makes it just about like a 100 cigarette. But it gets real hot real fast up at the top. Now if you change out that drip tip to something that's a little bit longer, I that will probably cure the problem of where your lips aren't touching the top of it here. I want to thank you guys for tuning in for this first look at the OBS mini kit. Give me about a week, run a few tanks through here, see what I can end up finding, any other flaws, any leaking, anything like that, and I will let you guys know. But yeah, so far I'm really liking it. I'm kind of curious how long the battery life will end up working, and just the wear and tear, and see how these coils hold out. I haven't seen anybody selling the coils yet. If I find somebody with that, I will let you guys know. As usual, peace out, YouTube.